Hi everyone, welcome back to AP Environmental Science. In today's video, we're going to be going over topic 2.2, which is soil formation and erosion. And we're going to be filling in the 2.2 topic in our note packet, which should be on page 6 and page 7. So just a little bit of notes for you guys tonight. And don't mind me, I am sick. So I'm sorry if I sound weird. This should be posted on Google Classroom for you to review the notes. If not, I'll make sure that they are posted as soon as possible. I also have a few additional links for you in case you need additional help with this topic. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So we are in our Earth Systems and Global Change unit. It has two parts. The first half is Earth Systems. We've already went over plate tectonics. Now let's dive into soil and the formation of rocks. And at this point, you guys should have completed day 1 of our soil series lab. So let's talk a little bit more in depth about how rocks form and also soil properties and formation. Okay. So, rocks form the basis of soils, and there are various sources of these rocks. The three major types of rock are formed by different combinations of heat and pressure. So, we have three different main types of rock. We have igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary. The rocks aren't really a big part of AP Environmental, but you do have to know just some baseline information for this unit, okay? Magma is the original source of all rock. Remember that magma is in the asthenosphere layer of the Earth. The asthenosphere is in the middle, and magma can be pushed up during convergent plate boundary formation, as well as exposed when divergent plate boundaries separate. So, magma is the original source of all rock, but there are different methods that rocks at the surface form from. Directly from molten magma, by compression of sediments, and by exposing the rock to different high temperatures and pressures. Igneous rock formed directly from magma and can either be basalt or granite. Basalt is the main type of rock in oceanic crust, whereas granite is the main type of rock in continental crust. As the granite breaks down on the surface due to weathering, sand forms. So we can assume that because oceanic crust is more dense than continental, basalt is a more dense material. Sedimentary rocks form from sediments that are compressed by overlying sediments over a long period of time. We're going to get things like limestone, gypsum. I'm not going to try and pronounce that. Conglomerate. It's actually a pretty fine pronunciation. Sandstone and shale. Metamorphic rock form when sedimentary rocks, igneous, or other metamorphic rocks are subjected to high temperatures and pressures. And that's when we get marble, slate, and quartzite. So here's an image showing how the different kinds of rocks form. So magma is being pushed up from the mantle, which is the asthenosphere, and all rocks are essentially formed from magma, but again, it just depends on the different steps in between. Okay, now we have weathering and erosion. At the Earth's surface, rocks are broken down by weathering and erosion. Weathering occurs when rock is exposed to air, water, chemical compounds, or biological agents. Physical weathering is the mechanical breakdown of rocks and minerals, usually caused by water, wind, or variations in temperature, such as seasonal freeze-thaw cycles. So, for example, in the winter, the soil in the northern or really southern parts of the hemispheres, like down by Antarctica or in the Arctic, the soil freezes, it's permanently frozen in a permafrost, and it does eventually thaw out in the warmer months. So this freeze-thaw cycle can cause weathering to the rock in those parts of the globe. Chemical weathering is the breakdown of rocks and minerals by chemical reactions, the dissolving of chemical elements from rocks, or both. When rain and snow contain sulfuric or nitric acid, this is acid precipitation or acid rain, which can dissolve rock and is responsible for degradation of old statues, gravestones, and limestone and marble structures. We have a whole unit on air pollution which talks about acid rain, so we'll go over this part more in depth later. Erosion is the physical removal of rock fragments from a landscape or ecosystem. This can break down land, and many human practices such as deforestation, overgrazing, unmanaged construction, and road building create accelerated rock erosion. We're going to go into this more in depth also in another unit as well. Okay, this is how soil forms. From below, which is below the surface, you have weathering of parent material. What is parent material? It's just the original particles at the top. So when you have weathering, you have of the parent material, it produces smaller and smaller fragments that make up geological and inorganic part of soil. So this is sand, silt, and clay. We're going to talk more about these three particles next class, as well as different minerals. From above, the breakdown of organic matter, such as living things when they decompose, adds something called humus or humus to soil. Erosion deposits soil particles from other areas, adding to soil. Other effects on soil formation is the parent material, which is the soil pH and nutrient content. So what is the pH or the acidity or the alkalinity of the soil? The nutrient content we will go over next class, which is nitrates, phosphates, and stuff like that. Topography is how steep the slope is. So for example, this would be very steep, where that is not as steep. And of course, that is somewhat flat. So topography is how steep the slope is. If you have a steeper slope, you're going to have accelerated rates of erosion. The more level the ground is, you're going to have deposition of different materials into the soil. We'll talk about deposition later. Also, the climate, the warmer their climate is, you have the faster accelerated breakdown of organic material. So when dead things are decomposing, if it's warmer, it's going to decompose faster. If the soil is present in a climate that has more precipitation or more rain, more weathering, erosion, and deposition are going to occur. And the different types of organisms you have there is going to impact the soil formation as well. Okay, so let's talk about the different layers of the soil, and then I think we are, almost done. So there are different layers of soil. Let's start from the top and go down to the bottom. The O horizon, the O stands for organic, so it's the top layer up here. This is the O horizon. It's the top layer filled with organic material. This has the roots, the dead leaves, animal waste, and typically just like this is where you're not going to have a lot of biological activity, but you are going to have some living things on the surface, okay? The A horizon, which is this layer right here, this is the topsoil. This is the layer of humus. This is where we decompose organic matter from the top is going into. This is the most biological activity. There is biological activity in the O, but not as much as in the A. This is where you have earthworms, you have your more extensive root systems, and they're going to be breaking down organic matter to release nutrients into the soil. Next, we have the B horizon, which is the subsoil. It's the lighter layer below the topsoil. It's mostly made of minerals and does not have organic matter in it. It can, but not as much, and it contains some nutrients. And the sea horizon is the least weathered. It's the furthest down, and it sometimes is called bedrock. Just like in Minecraft, if you play that, if you get down too deep, you hit bedrock, okay? It's the closest to the parent material, which is the original material that formed the soil, and the least weathered. The most weathered area would be the O and the A. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to talk about today is soil degradation. This is when soil erodes from contact against wind and water, as well as increases in human activity. Erosion occurs when topsoil is disturbed. Human activities such as plowing or deforestation can lead to erosion by water or wind. Without the grounding system of roots from plants, the particles of topsoil can move more quickly. So I'm going to go back a slide. Root systems are really great for preventing soil erosion. See how these root systems here, they're going deep down into the B layer, even like really deep. You kind of can't see because this text is blocking it. But roots go down really deep into the earth. They don't really get into the sea horizon. They don't get to the bedrock, but the roots go down really quick. They go down pretty far into the B horizon layer. So this gives the soil something to anchor onto, and it provides structure to the soil. So the more extensive your root system, the less erosion and less weathering you're going to have. So when we have a bunch of human activity and you're removing your plant systems that have extensive root systems, you're going to be increasing your rates of erosion as well, because you have nothing anchoring the soil into the ground or to each other. So plants are really helpful in preventing soil erosion. When you also have excess water from a rainstorm, it's going to wash over this topsoil, and large amounts of it are going to get washed up and pushed to a different area. That's what displacement means. A similar process occurs with wind. An example of this would be the Dust Bowl of the Great Plains, the 1930s. If you look this up and you write a little bit about it on a separate piece of paper, I will give you extra credit on your Soil Series lab. So if you research some parts of the 1930s Dust Bowl on a separate piece of paper, just maybe small, one paragraph about what happened and what were the implications of it, I will give you extra credit on your lab. And that is all I have for you guys today. We're going to work on this in class when I see you again. If you have any questions, let me know. Make sure your notes are all filled in. I will be checking this next time we meet. Have a great day. I'll see you all later. Bye.